presentar el trofeo que se llevará el ganador de la segunda edición de la Copa Mundial Juvenil de Béisbol 5 de la Confederación Mundial de Béisbol y Softball. 16 equipos fueron los invitados para esta edición y solamente uno será el ganador. En la final a disputar entre el equipo de Chinese Taipei y el equipo de Cuba. Fuerte el aplauso para recibir el trofeo de la Copa Mundial Juvenil de Béisbol 5. Damas y caballeros, sean bienvenidos al Campo Lealtad del Parque La Loma en Tepic, Nayarit, México, para el partido número 56 por el oro de la segunda edición de la Copa Mundial Juvenil de Béisbol 5 de la Confederación Mundial de Béisbol y Softball entre el equipo visitante Chinese Taipei y el equipo local Cuba. Y representando al equipo visitante de Chinese Taipei, los jugadores titulares son, con el número 4, Xuan Shen, con el número 6, Mi Xia Sung, con el número 11, Kiaolin Shen, con el número 13, Xiali Chung, y con el número 9, Wang Xian Su. Y el resto de los jugadores con el número 7, Yung Cheng Shen. Con el número 19, Wan Si Shen. Y con el número 22, Xiangxin Huang. El entrenador principal, Wei Kuo Feng. Y el líder de la delegación, Xu Fei Xiao. Ellos son el equipo visitante Chinese Taipei. Y representando al equipo local de Cuba, los jugadores titulares son, con el número 24, Kevin Hidalgo Gato Oramas. Con el número 42, Yandro Mozaret Bisset. Con el número 23, Carlos Alejandro Rivera Tamayo. Con el número 7, Rachel de la Caridad Medina Isaac. Y con el número 15, Amanda Díaz Jimeno. Y el resto de los jugadores con el número 2, Ariana de la Caridad La O Olivera. Con el número 6, Adis Judith Espinel Felizola. Y con el número 13, Rafael Alejandro Socarrás Correa. El entrenador principal, Sergio Arturo Pérez Echevarría. Y el líder de la delegación, Carlos Ernesto Preval Pérez. Ellos son el equipo local, la selección de Cuba. Y ahora, damas y caballeros, nos complace presentar a los oficiales de este partido. La oficial de home plate, Talía Villavicencio de México. Oficial de primera base, Tony Jones de los Estados Unidos de América. Oficial de segunda base, Héctor Jesús Martínez Pico de México. La oficial de tercera base, Alessia Cicconi de Italia. Y el oficial de mesa, Oscar Eduardo Valerio López de México. Ahora, damas y caballeros, por favor, pongámonos de pie los que podamos hacerlo. Quitémonos los sombreros y de la manera más respetuosa escuchemos el himno nacional de Chinese Taipei. Agradecemos su atención, damas y caballeros, y de igual manera y con el mismo respeto, les pedimos escuchar el himno nacional de Cuba.
Good evening, bienvenidos. Welcome back to Parque La Loma in Tepic, Nayarit, Mexico for the World Championship at the second ever WBSC Youth Baseball 5 World Cup. Craig Durham and Tony Alvarez, happy to have your company for the title of World Championship matchup, Cuba and Chinese Taipei. For Cuba, they expected to be here. They've been in every previous Baseball 5 World Cup championship. They have won every previous Baseball 5 World Cup title. For Chinese Taipei, this is a first opportunity to do something special. And if there was a team that was ever ready to knock off a Cuba team, it's this group from Chinese Taipei. Tony, before we get into this one, let's briefly talk about what we just saw in the bronze medal matchup, Venezuela and Mexico. What were your thoughts there?
Boy, that was a great atmosphere and a great game. It will be remembered for quite some time as Venezuela captured that bronze medal. The first time they get a medal at this level, the youth Baseball 5 level, and overall in Baseball 5. They won it in straight sets, but just the fact that both of the teams left it all on the field of play, and it tells you the passion that generates the sports and also the interest, the high interest that everyone now has in Baseball 5. It was very, very well documented after what we saw earlier here tonight.
You just took a look at the rosters of both teams in this game, and just a final point on that. You mentioned the atmosphere during the bronze medal matchup. Obviously, you expect a sold-out crowd, a packed house when the host nation's competing. I wasn't sure when the rain came after that game if everybody was going to stick around. Not only have people stuck around, but there were even more people here for the World Championship tonight than there were this evening for the bronze medal game. So anything can happen. If you're new to Baseball 5, we'll do our best to read you the rules without disrupting the action quickly. Our international officiating crew, that's Talia Villavicencio from Mexico, the home plate official, United States, Mexico, and Italy, all represented on the diamond. And we are ready to begin with Chen Wanchen, who is a really impressive player, always bats on top of this Chinese Taipei lineup. And he starts off the game with a hit.
Oh, yeah, and he has shown emotion quickly here as he pointed to the rest of the bench there after getting that single that he is ready to go. As you said, Chinese Taipei, this is important for them. They are trying to dethrone the current world champion.
At the very least, now Chinese Taipei wants to get that runner in scoring position. Song Mi-chia does even more. First and second with none out. Tony brought up a great point during the bronze medal match, the importance of scoring first and how typically in baseball and softball you think the home team batting last, that's a big advantage. Well, here in Baseball 5, sometimes batting first can be an advantage as the visitors get a chance to dictate a potential lead. And now a ground ball on the right side. That's a bunt play executed to perfection. Chen Chaolin, the batter, does her job. One thing we didn't mention during the bronze medal game, the requirement that Baseball 5 be a mixed gender sport. You have to have at least 2 players of each gender in your lineup, and teams handle that differently. It's 3-2, obviously, in a 5-player setup. But sometimes you'll see 3 men, 2 women, sometimes the other way around, depending on the strategy and what the game dictates. But here's a chance for Chinese Taipei to score first. They do score first, 1-0 on the ground out to the right side. And that's a great start for the team trying to pull off the upset.
Yeah, they got the job done here, and we see frequently how when a runner is at third, most of the times the batters will try and sacrifice themselves to get that run home and try either get the lead in this case or add on. And now with another opportunity, with another run at third here, but now with 2 away.
Yeah, this is a big run standing there on third. Can Chinese Taipei bring it home? That's a play to short. The throw dug by Diaz at first. That was a fantastic pick. And that holds Chinese Taipei to just 1 run. And nothing easy about that play. The momentum going away from first base. Diaz switching feet. You saw it.
Wow.
Started with her right foot on the bag, finished with her left foot on the base. Sensational defense.
That was amazing, and she was going down on her knees, and she realized that that right foot was going to slide far from the back, so okay, I got another foot here. And right in time, before the runner got there, and now, as you pointed out, it's very important, just that 1 run for Chinese Taipei as Cuba will try to answer.
The leadoff man for Cuba, one of the most dynamic players in this tournament, but a tough ball right there, handled at third base. Kevin Hidalgo lining out a soft line drive for the out. And now a hard hit ball that's going to go off the wall. Yandro Morasen got too much of it. And a couple of kind of uncharacteristic mistakes for Cuba. They get themselves out with the line drive that was not well placed, and then the line drive that was hit too hard. And now Rivera, who's got a ton of speed, takes a look at the Chinese Taipei defensive alignment. Hits it hard past third base for a single to extend the first.
Boy, that was such a well-placed ball. because, of course, if you hit it too hard like it just happened a batter ago and it hits first the wall, that's an automatic out. And in this case, getting just that slightly open window near the line at third, it bounces first on the ground and then off the wall. And now another automatic out, as we've talked about. Yes, if it hit the fence or goes over, that's an automatic out. And in this case, first the ball bounced in foul ground. Again, a situation where you see an out in place.
Yeah, we pretty much talked about all the ways. The only exception to what we've talked about is the 3-meter line, the no-hit zone that's right in front of home plate. You have to make sure that the initial bounce of the ball goes beyond that white stripe that extends foul line to foul line. You just saw it there. It's 3 meters in front of the dish, and that is the no-hit zone. Here's a ball whacked hard to third, and another leadoff single for Chen.
Same attitude for him, obviously trying to pump his team up. Already with 1 run in. It was a tough play there for Moracen, yet still he reaches and once again pointing to the bench, trying to get his team fired up.
Yeah, not only the leadoff hitter, he's kind of the spiritual leader of this team too. And he scored the game's only run. There's the example of a ball not clearing the 3-meter line, the no-hit zone. And the runner cannot advance. That's really what you lose there. The bunt play, you're just trying to move that runner to second. So when you don't clear the line, and that's part of the design of Baseball 5. They didn't want to make it a game where everybody's just bunting in front of home plate. To advance runners, you can bunt, but you got to get it out there. And now a ball, first base line. Another one ruled foul. And like you saw earlier in the bronze medal game, if you're watching, just a miss hit came off the fingertips.
Yes, you want to put the, well, of course, they are having more time to practice than we do, but that technique factor, as you hit a ball, it has to be on point because, like we saw there, if it hits of the end of the fingers, it might be not as hard as you want, and maybe you can get also a rules violation.
Now a 2-out ball sent to the left side. The foot of Rachel Isak came off the bag. That's the call of safe at second.
So close.
Yeah, it was. By the time she secured it, the foot was off. And there's no such thing as an easy call to make as an official. Every call, it's a bang-bang play. Now it's hit on the left side, a force out at third, and the play made by Cuba.
But you saw on that play, and take a look at the replay, that difference of technique. When he kind of slapped the ball just enough to get it over that 3-meter line. So it's in play, and you give yourself a chance. Of course, now with a runner at second, it's closer to third base. Therefore, the quote-unquote easy out forced by the defense from Cuba.
Well put. Yeah, there's no easy call to make as an official. There's no easy play to make as a defender. Here's Amanda Diaz. Diaz hits it hard left side. That's ruled fair. And it's the same rule as traditional baseball and softball. If the first bounce is fair, that doesn't matter. It's where it crosses the bag, and that one must have held on just as it got to the line. That's maybe a little break for Cuba. They get the leadoff runner aboard, and they get back to the top of the lineup. Was that ball foul? Yeah, it was. Not only did it look foul, but Kevin Hidalgo left early, and Talia Villavicencio, the home plate official, making that call. So Diaz forced to remain at first base, kind of a repeat of what we saw in the top of the second inning.
That's another thing, Craig, that will result in an automatic out. You cannot leave the batter's box before you make contact with the ball.
Little trouble collecting the ball by Shuwan Swan. She wasn't able to secure it to get it to first in time, and now Chinese Taipei rotating pieces defensively. And Shuan goes over to third. They do that more than any team I've seen in this tournament. They know where they like their players in certain situations. First and second, the situation here for Cuba with 1 out. And a ball hit to the right side. The runner, Moracen, is out. That was a tough collision to avoid, but the ruling, interference, that he didn't allow the defensive player to make a play on the ball. He made no effort to avoid the collision.
And that's key, what you just said, because, of course, he has to attack the ball over there. Shen But for Morasen, he has a few, I guess, inches to avoid contact behind the fielder. So he could avoid contact, and there's no chance for the second baseman in that area to try and get attacked. So everyone could have been safe.
Even a little bit of contact is okay, but if you have to make that effort.
Right.
And we didn't see it in real time, didn't see it on the replay. Chance to make the play at third. The force out ends the second inning. This Chinese Taipei defense is a force, and they have the lead after 2 complete to finish our run-through of the setup of this World Championship final. That'll be played exactly like every other game in this tournament. It's going to be a best-of-3 set series. Each set, a little mini game, a 5-inning baseball 5 game. We call it set 1, set 2, and if each team wins one of the first, then we play set 3. Neither of these teams have played very many set 3s.
Yes.
Because they've so often just taken care of business, sweeping their opponent 2 sets in a row. That was not the case for Cuba last night. They had to go 3 sets to beat Mexico to reach this championship. And now a hard hit ball right side, and for the 3rd time in as many innings, Chen leads off with a hit. This guy is having himself a tournament.
And you know, you were just talking about the fact that this Chinese Taipei, changes their defensive strategy from time to time. I'm going to go a bit extra and say they had an opportunity also to watch their opponents. Let's remember that one day they did not have a game. They were scheduled 1 game only. As that ball gets away, and now Chinese Taipei has an opportunity. But now a great example also of something we talked about in the previous broadcast in the bronze medal game. When runners are on base, you bring your arms in the air to call time and also avoid any runner to take off from where they are. But of course, the runners have to be near the base or on it just to get that time granted. So that's a great example of that right on your screen.
Yeah, Rivera, just because he raises his arms doesn't mean the play is dead. The officials need to recognize the timeout call. Now a throw to first with the run scoring. Chen from third. 2-0 Chinese Taipei. And that was like a sacrifice bunt, like a squeeze bunt, if you will, in baseball and softball. The batter willing to get out so long as the run comes in. You may have noticed, if you're new to Baseball 5, there's no catcher. And as a defensive team, you need to know who's covering the plate in the event that you need to make a play. And this is one of the only reasons a Baseball 5 game ever slows down or stops: a shoe tie.
Right, yes, because you run a lot so fast in such a short space that, yes, that does happen. And also, in that play, Shen waited for the fielder to throw to first, and of course with his speed, didn't have to take off before, making sure that he had a chance to score.
The good inning continuing for Chinese Taipei. They forced the throw to second. That brings home another run. And again, the batter was not concerned with making it out. He just wanted to draw the attention of Cuba to allow that run to score.
And you can see it on your screen. We'll take another look at it. It was pretty clear as he was pointing to home plate like, hey, score, I got you. I can entertain the fielders in this situation while you get to home. So he sacrificed himself for another run.
Diaz at first base for Cuba. She did not have to throw the ball to second. That was a choice. She could have just let the runner take second base. And when you look in hindsight, maybe she should have, maybe not. It would have been temporarily still 2-0, but then you're dealing with second and third and nobody, or rather 1 out instead of bases empty with 2 outs. So not a lot of great options there for Diaz.
Especially with the speed around the bases for Chinese Taipei. It's pretty clear as we take another look at that one. Look at the excitement, because that strategic part of the game in this particular situation for Chinese Taipei that I'm pretty sure, Craig, friends watching all around the world, they have planned it, studied it, practiced it, and once you execute it to perfection and it pays off, you have to be happy about it.
Time is now for Cuba. If they're going to make a move, we're in the bottom of the third, which, believe it or not, means you're getting into the late innings as a diving effort at short results in a leadoff hit for Diaz.
Boy, that was a great effort over there.
Wasn't it?
Just a bit off on it. And like you said, for Cuba, we talked about a fast-paced game. Well, the game itself, it can get old really quickly. And here for Cuba to be down a set, maybe unfamiliar territory.
Throw to first. Oh, it's bobbled. First mistake we've seen from Chinese Taipei. Hidalgo, I think, was willing to get out. And I'm thinking to myself, down by 3 runs, you don't really want to be giving away anything. And he gets fortunate. And Cuba now in a position to take advantage at the very least get on the scoreboard, maybe get all 3 runs back here in the bottom of the 3rd. Morasen hits it hard, takes the bounce. Nice force out at second base. Chinese Taipei played the carom to perfection.
And that's also one of the beauties, as we see again some changes in this layout for the Chinese Taipei defense. If you play it well after a bounce off the wall and you have a runner heading to second base, it might just be the shortest way to get an out, to step on the base or just flip it to a teammate there to get a sure out, and this is a good situation.
Carlos Rivera holds the ball above his head, sends it in play, and that will get Cuba on the board. 3-1 in the bottom of the 3rd.
Good piece of hitting there. And a tough play defensively also for Chinese Taipei. And now with 1 away, you got to wonder here. You can't think really, like you said, Craig, of moving only the runners. Of course, a lot of power and speed, but you don't want to give away outs even though you have those tying runs on base.
Great ball. Throw home. Dropped. Cuba's going to move the tying run to 3rd. It's 3-2.
Well, you get the feeling that this is the moment that Cuba was been waiting for. Oh, just a bobble there by Chen for all the good things he has done. That's a tough one to swallow, and of course it's part of the game. It's really hard to handle a ball coming at you at that speed, so small, bare-handed. And also we've seen funny hops at times. You'd think you have a play on and not.
I think some of that is the batters putting spin on the ball as Cuba is going to tie it up. Diaz pushing it to the first base side. 3-3 in the 3rd. What a job by Cuba coming back. And Tony, when you talk about the funny hops, I think some players really do put English, like to borrow a term from billiards. And there's so many games that when you think about it, they can apply, their principles can apply to Baseball 5 as we have a big moment here. 2 outs. Runner on 3rd, throw to 1st. Cuba's gonna take the lead. And a tag at 2nd for the out that ends the inning. Hidalgo was tagged fairly aggressively. I think that's the point he's making. The out will stand, but a 4-run bottom of the 3rd inning because that throw was high. The run able to score from 3rd.
Oh, it was a bit
heavy.
Yes, that's a good term. That's a good term to put it, and that's exactly what the Cuba manager, Sergio Perez, is pointing a bit towards the table there where the officers are located. Officials, excuse me. Officers might be a nice term at times. Yes,
sometimes
exactly.
They have to be officers to keep the peace.
Right. And you just said that for Cuba, it was a great moment to wake up. Well, they just did, and they took the lead. And, of course, now for Chinese Taipei, a great guy here to try and start things off in the 4th inning. But like you said, there are moments where you see how that technique to hit the ball, and when we've seen it also just when the ball bounces, it's funny because sometimes it bounces towards the opposite side where it hits, so it's evident, as that's a safe call there at first, it's evident that they practice the way they hit the ball. It's becoming an expertise thing for players here at Baseball 5, and it's part of the beauty of the game that I'm pretty sure will be analyzed more and more as it picks up around the world.
That's a great point, and that's what I've noticed, Tony, in the 4 years now that we've seen World Cup actions. This is the 4th consecutive year with a World Cup. The level of play every single year gets better. There are new wrinkles that these teams work in, defensive schemes, offensive plays. One thing I've noticed at this World Cup that I didn't in previous editions, batters looking to their benches, coaches flashing signals like they're in the third base coach's box. Sometimes it's as simple as a number 1 or 2. Sometimes it's touching your shoulder and then your elbow like you'd expect to see in Major League Baseball. So it's an amazing evolution of a game that was born in Cuba, we should add, many decades ago. The game Cuatro Esquinas is what WBSC President Ricardo Fricari had seen and decided he wanted to try and add a rule book for and make it more official. And then the first ever WBSC Baseball 5 tournament took place in Havana in 2017. So from one small regional tournament, it was not international, only featured teams from Cuba, to now here we are 8 years later, a World Cup and a tie game in the top of the 4th.
Well, this is when you trust your players. In this case, Chung delivering with 2 outs. And the reason I mentioned this is because with a runner in first and 1 out, in essence, the previous batter just sacrificed herself to move the runner to second. So with 2 away, even with 2 outs, they put a runner in scoring position, trusting Chung. He delivered, and we have a new ball game once again.
Shuwan Swan, the batter. Gets to the front of the box, hits it hard. Morasen down to the deck to make the catch on the fly. What action here. 4-4, bottom 4 coming up. Cuba was held scoreless in each of the first 2 innings. They were able to break through in a big way, and now we'll see. Can they put up runs in back-to-back innings, or will we see the Chinese Taipei defense, which faltered briefly, will they get back into their form?
And they had been on point pretty much every set of this World Cup here against Cuba. Well, they are battling for world supremacy, as Cuba has in their minds, of course, staying atop.
A bounce over to first, another part of the evolution of the game. Sometimes a defensive player, instead of throwing it on the fly, will bounce it to make it easier to catch. Rivera, the batter now for Cuba, the home team. Rivera notices all the fielders back. Will he bunt? No, he'll hit it hard. And he'll reach. Back-to-back batters aboard for Cuba. And usually if you get the first 2 on, we don't have the live percentage statistics like maybe you're getting used to if you watch some sports broadcast, but a very high percentage of scoring at least 1 run. And Chinese Taipei taking a timeout here to set up their defensive strategy. Each team has 1 timeout per set. It's 30 seconds to go get the team together, talk things over. And if you're Chinese Taipei, you need to come up with something special here. Remember, 5 innings, that's all it'll be. So if Cuba scores however many they score, Chinese Taipei would have to match that when we get to the top of the 5th. So this is really deep in the first set.
Yeah, you get in a position to put yourself 3 outs away from securing that first set. So this is huge. We're talking about the lack of offense for Cuba. Well, they have woken up.
The batter is Isak. There's a pop to second. They get the force out there. Another part of the evolution. You don't have to squeeze it, gear up and throw. We've seen more players this week just tapping it. Watch the way this ball gets to second base. The accuracy is right on point. But now a huge go-ahead run is on third. Chinese Taipei moving pieces again. Who's going to cover home? Diaz drove in a run last inning. She looks to the coaching staff. And that's...
Boy, that's just great. You're saying about the signs coming off the bench. It's tragedy.
Softly hit, up the middle, run scores. They go to second out there, but Cuba takes a 5-4 lead in the last of the 4th. I think Chinese Taipei was willing to concede that run to make sure it doesn't turn into a big inning. They're thinking, well, we can certainly get at least 1 in the 5th. We'll see if that's true or not. Hidalgo has been kind of quiet as a batter. This would be a good time to break out. He hits it hard, had spin on it, popped to second, the stretch, but it is not caught. And so the inning continues for Cuba. Like we said, it hasn't been as easy for this Cuba team as previous Cuba teams in other Baseball5 World Cups. They had to go to 3 sets last night with Mexico. Down early, down big in this one, yet here they are ahead when it matters most and not done perhaps adding on. A ball to first, and by the time it was picked up, it was too late. Chinese Taipei's defense really hasn't looked like this at all in this tournament.
I mean, they were very good in the first inning, but that was a while ago when they had the lead. And now all the pressure on them, they already called for their timeout, so the players will have to regroup themselves on the field of play. Big spot with the bases loaded for Cuba now, and a talented player coming up.
But a ground ball to short, the force out at second, and we are off to the 5th inning. Chinese Taipei has not lost a set at this tournament. They beat Venezuela in straight sets yesterday to reach this World Championship final. Not a very close play at second base there.
You know, it's getting a bit chippy in there.
Isn't it?
Just before, on a play at first, one of the players from Cuba stepped off the first base. The ball wasn't there, but he kind of, I don't want to say shoved, but moved a couple of steps, one of the Chinese Taipei players, and quickly the home plate official, Taipei Vicenzo, turned to him and said, hey, calm down. There's no reason for that. The ball's not there. Time was called anyway.
Chen leading off, hits it past first base. Out! The foot was hovering over the bag when Diaz made the catch. Cuba's fired up. They're 2 outs away from winning the first set. I thought once that ball got off the hand of Diaz, it was going to be a hit for Chen, who's got so much speed. She plays the game with so much passion. Last night, she took a big-time leadership role, too, in the really back-and-forth affair with Mexico. She was the one going up and down to all her teammates when they were batting, arm around them, strategy, uplifting comments. And there's a big hit. And Cuba's really lucky it's just a single, the way that ball kind of got knocked around behind third base.
I'm not sure if Moracen kind of took a bit off it as he was trying to lean over to stop it with his hand.
This one hit to second base. Not great placement on that ball. Chen Chaolin is the only base runner for Chinese Taipei. Up against it here with 2 outs. Remember, Chinese Taipei led 3-0. Cuba has scored 5 of the next 6. And it comes down to this moment here. Chung Cha Lee needs to reach base to extend the game. Looks like there's a little bit of room on the left side. A couple of bounces, more than a couple. And the ball put in play. He does go to the left side, and it will extend the set. Tying run now in scoring position.
Rivera was thinking about flipping it to second, but he was just a bit off of that one with a bobble. They would have had maybe a close play there. But now Chinese Taipei is all fired up.
Xu Wan Swan, the batter. One thing we haven't seen is the pop-up play. You know the pop-up play behind second base? Yes. It's about the hardest play to execute, but sometimes you'll get the fielders watching it, hoping it's going to hit the wall. Not what we get here. Diaz stomps on first base, and Cuba, in come-from-behind fashion, takes the first set 5-4.
Boy, it took hard work to get to this point, but now they are 1 set away from another gold medal. All the pressure on Chinese Taipei. Still a lot of baseball to be played, but look at the excitement over there at that bench.
Yeah, it could be another world championship for Cuba in 5 innings, or it could be a 3-set all-time classic. We'll take a short break and have second set action for you after this from Parque La Loma in Tepic, Nayarit. Tepic, Nayarit. Craig Durham and Tony Alvarez happy to be bringing you the second set of the World Championship at the Youth Baseball 5 World Cup. Chen leading off for Chinese Taipei, and he'll wind up on second base. We'll see how Chinese Taipei responds after losing a set for the first time in this tournament.
Well, this is the correct way, but can they hold on if they were to capture a lead? That did not happen in the first set. Over here, you can tell that if a ball gets through the infield area, you can still have a shot of a play there. So great job by Medina there.
Oh, a good ball. Not just moving the runner, but first and third with nobody out. If you're Cuba, though, you kind of shrug it off, right? Even if you give up a couple, because the message is clear up and down the bench. We overcame a 3-0 lead. We were down 3-0 in the third inning last set, and we're able to come back. So you'd expect Chinese Taipei to get at least one here when you have that runner on third and nobody out. They go to the bunt play, run scores, don't even bother covering home, and 1-0 Chinese Taipei. They still have a runner in scoring position. And a change to tell you about for Cuba, as Aris Espinel has come into play third. This has been the way they've been doing it. Espinel typically starts the second set after not starting the first set. It's now going to be 3 girls, 2 boys for Cuba. Same for Chinese Taipei. This one hit to Espinel, trying to test her, see if she's up to game speed. I think we got our answer.
And most of the time, we've seen her exactly there, near third base when she is on the field of play. So they know exactly well how to close games when they're on top. Of course, it was a long road last night for them, but here today they have a set to work with.
The batter's Chen Wanji. She tries the pop-up, up the middle. Cuba ready for it. And just one for Chinese Taipei. When that play's executed for a hit, it's my favorite part of Baseball 5. We saw one Kenya playing Mexico in one of the semifinal matchups yesterday. It was the bottom of the 5th. Kenya was down by a run, 2 outs, runner on third. And Valentine popped it up over second base. It landed and hopped over the wall. That's how Kenya tied it up and forced a third set. They went on to win that one. It was just a beautiful thing to see. And right there, the first attempt in this championship final, but the pop-up caught. And now it's Cuba's turn to immediately try and start to get it back. They'll still have Hidalgo at the top of the lineup. He and Chen locked in those respective spots. And a leadoff hit.
Boy, and they are ready. Everyone here on the Cuba starting lineup, they are just set to get into that batter's box. As normally also we've seen the first 2 boys, the first 2 youngsters to bat first, and then in the bottom part of that starting lineup for a second set for Cuba, the 3 girls in this case. And we call them boys and girls because that's exactly what they are. I mean, they're between 14 and 18 years old, so they're still teenagers.
It's the Youth Baseball 5 World Cup. You have to be born between 2007 and 2011 to be eligible for this tournament. So if you're 18, you just turned 18 this year, and now Cuba's got 2 on, none out. And they look poised to get this run back right here in the first inning. Isak, the batter. She starts directly in the back of the hitter's box. And Chinese Taipei having trouble defensively. We haven't seen them struggle to this level to make plays like that. I wouldn't call it a routine play, but when it's hit right at you, you've got force outs at first and second. You really need to get an out. But where that one snuck up on Shu, she just couldn't squeeze it. Bases loaded. Now Cuba's thinking, heck with getting one back. Let's make it a big inning. As Espinel grounds to the right side. Out, but 2 runs score. And Cuba takes the lead.
Boy, the first one, you kind of thought about it, but then after the bobble there at first and trying to get the ball, and also the out, you see there the frustration over there, and it was called safe, by the way. Now it was out.
Okay. It was out. Yeah, I know.
Out.
That was as close as they come.
Boy, that was oh so close, and taking advantage of that moment over there at first was the rest of the Cuban players.
Tough at bat right there for Diaz as she pops out up the middle. Clearly not what she was trying to do. And Cuba fortunate to have some heads-up base running on third base to avoid the double play. We've seen a lot of double plays. It's hard to get back if you're a runner and your first step is off the base. Hidalgo back in the top of the order. And he's going to get it through and make it 3-1 Cuba. Chen cheating a little bit to the third base side.
I was exactly going to say that because he thought he knew what Cuba was going to do, but after that he kind of took an extra step. He got a good idea of what Cuba normally does in that situation, so that tells me that they also study film or check what they do on their practices somehow, but in this case just took a step further than the one he needed to.
Now on the right side, nice get, but the throw bounces away and now goes to third. Talk about bouncing away. That throw shouldn't have been made. If it was, you got to throw that home. You don't want to throw to third there behind the runner. Clearly going to be safe there. The game speeding up on Chinese Taipei, and not in a good way.
And it's kind of tough to think about only one of the two base runners, but you kind of have to forget about the one at first because, yes, you have to give away a bag at second, but you have to avoid allowing another run, and the only way to do that is, of course, to throw in front of the lead runner. In this case, of course, like you said, Craig, home plate as time is called. Right there, a shoelace. You know, we should have a shoelace timeout, something special called like that, because we see it very often.
I'll be honest, those shoes might have been tied about 10 seconds ago, but Chinese Taipei needing to find a way to slow down Cuba's momentum. Oops, my shoe's untied. Not saying that's what happened, but interesting that two different players needed to be tied there as Cuba's all of a sudden rolling, and they're going to add another run. 5-1 in the first. A lot of chatter today in Tepic about, is this the year where we crown a new Baseball 5 world champion? Is this Chinese Taipei team good enough to knock off Cuba? A lot of people thought so. It's not looking good here in the first inning. Still time, but it has to end right here. And Chen, how many touches before he squeezed it?
Well, that was a hot potato over there for him, but he made the grab. And of course, a lot of baseball yet to be played. But you talked about an interesting point there. I would say maybe for a defending world champion, I don't know if to say that an underdog coming into this one was a correct term, but probably, and Craig, you know more than me because you've been a part of this Baseball 5 World Cup for quite some time now. But is this Chinese Taipei team the one that would present the biggest challenge for a Cuba team in the history of Baseball 5 World Cups?
I think so. I mean, the first year Japan was in the final in the Baseball 5 World Cup in 2022 in Mexico City. And if you haven't seen photos of that at El Zocalo, you really should take a look. It was quite a sight. A lot of folks thought maybe Japan was good enough. They had Ayaku Rokoku, who was the coach of this year's youth Japan team, as a real star, other stars on that team. But in the end, it was actually a pretty easy win for Cuba in the final. So I would say that's the closest comparison. And again, people thought it might be possible to beat Cuba that night, and very quickly we saw that it wasn't going to be possible. The difference here is that Chinese Taipei came out, they took a lead. They were the better team for the first 3 innings of the first set. However, maybe feeling a little bit of the pressure. The defense, which has been their greatest strength, has not been a strength these last 5 innings, and that's why Cuba has gone on to score 9 of the last 10 runs. The ground ball here, out at second. This is also as sharp as I've seen Cuba look in the tournament.
Boy, and on that play, you don't want to get too carried away, but over there as Medina ended up with the ball at second, started to celebrate, and the split over there by her. Hey, we've seen a few of those tonight. And then quickly after that, she was, oh, no, time, good time. We didn't call time. We have a runner at first.
Yep.
And interesting because she was the only one who called time. The rest of the team was celebrating on the field play. That was a great play, though.
It was. That was a full stretch, the first baseman style stretch. Now a pop-up dropped in front of second base. The second time the pop-up's been attempted. It didn't work. I think a good example of Baseball 5, though, even after the play didn't work, big smile between the coaching staff from Chinese Taipei and the player, Chen Krao-Lin, who just couldn't quite make that ball do what she wanted it to. The inning continues, but just a runner on first. You've got Espinel playing in front of the third base bag. You don't always see that. Both actually corner infielders playing in tight. And a tricky ball with a lot of spin and a step around the bag. A tough break for Chinese Taipei. You need to keep that foot glued sometimes. When the throw went away, she thought she might have a chance to take third base. Watch how this develops.
As you see there, the throw, and then it ricochets, it bounces off the wall, and it's kind of tough when you see a ball get away from a fielder. Probably your initial thought, and over there to Shen, probably that was like, hey, I have a chance. The ball got away, but the wall is so close, and you have to be so disciplined in situations like that, even though your mind is saying something. We just saw the ball bounce right back to the fielder, and the tag was applied.
Now a bunt from Diaz. The heart and soul of this Cuba team. Leads off the bottom of the second with a single. Everybody is set. Everybody's shoes are tied. The home plate official sends the ball to Hidalgo. And off it goes into the front row. And it's first and second. Again, Cuba in business. They scored 5 in the first inning, and it started in a very similar way.
It's early to say that maybe Chinese Taipei is in dangerous territory, but then we might talk about one of those rules in this Baseball 5 sport, the run difference rule. I'm not saying it will happen, but they have a 5-1 lead here in the second, and at least from what we've seen in terms of demeanor and the way these players are acting on the field, the momentum is clearly in favor of Cuba, and, well, Chinese Taipei is struggling defensively. And another example of it here with another ball that gets away of one of the better players for this team, Zhuangsheng Shen. And again, for a team that has been so disciplined defensively, here now a spot with a bases loaded situation for Cuba and nobody out. It's tough, of course, for a team like Chinese Taipei to try to overcome these things, and that is why exactly the manager, Kai Kuo-feng, quickly calls for a timeout.
Yeah, and you get one a set. You don't want to have to use it in the second inning. That is a sign of danger, big time. But there is, like you said, still time to regroup. But I'm agreeing with you, Tony. I didn't think we'd be talking about the 10-run rule tonight, especially the way the first set started.
And I know we're kind of far away from Cuba getting to 11, but it's so early and they're in total control now. And here with nobody out, you just wonder if they keep that pedal to the metal, what could happen?
Force at every base if you're looking for good news for Chinese Taipei. You're not going to find any there, though. A good job limiting the damage, I suppose. That was where you had to throw it. Throw it home, keep Cuba from coming. But it's 6-1. Where has this Cuba team been to this point in the tournament? I mean, you think about how they got here. They beat Kenya in straight sets on day one. It wasn't necessarily easy. And then they played Spain, a team that finished in 10th place. They only beat Spain 4-2 in the first set. It was a tight game. They came back, of course, and won the second set 10-0. Then you went on to Thursday, the second day of the tournament. They beat Korea 2 in a row, but then had to fight against Mexico. Had to go to 3 sets. Mexico finishing in 4th place, having just lost the bronze medal game. So we knew there were some vulnerabilities here for Cuba against the top competition in the tournament. They haven't had any of these blowout scores. But 7-1 and a break for Chinese Taipei there as Diaz hit it foul. If you're Chinese Taipei, you need all the breaks right now.
Frustration there for Diaz. She thought that was in good territory, but that was not the case. And then I'm going to go and throw some cliches after this, Craig.
Wow, the struggles continue. Chen, he makes that play all tournament long, and then he compounds the drop by throwing it away, throwing home. 2 more for Cuba. Ouch.
Well, now we have to talk about that run difference rule. But hey, you were saying about the way that Cuba got here. Here's a few cliches for you. Good teams find a way to win. And second, isn't it scary when a Cuba team, probably not at a full potential, at least not shown in the first 2 rounds, managed their way to the gold medal game and here just explode as you expected from day one, that is scary.
It really is. And if you're Chinese Taipei, I can't imagine how fast the game must seem, but they have lost it. Whatever magic they played with through the first 3 days and the first 3 innings of this game tonight, it is gone for the moment, and it may be too far gone now to come all the way back, losing 10-1 in the second. In order to lose by the 10-run rule, you have to be down by 10 or more after 4 innings. Hard hit, third base, and it just keeps coming.
Well, we were talking about how a team could establish and set a rhythm and a tone for the rest of the game. Maybe they could get an early lead. Also, if you throw a lead away, not saying that Chinese Taipei threw their lead away in the first set, but they could not hold on. Then Cuba came back, got the win in the first set, and now they set the tone for the rest of the game. It's clearly a situation now of momentum and mental toughness, and Cuba's taking advantage.
Throw to first for the out, and that'll send us to the third. It's going to be a steep climb for Chinese Taipei, and if you've been with us throughout the entire game here, maybe you remember the moment in the bottom of the third. Cuba had a runner, maybe 2 on. There was a play to be made at first base for Chinese Taipei. Would have been the second out of the inning. It was dropped at first base, and ever since that moment, it's been all Cuba. It was one mistake. It was a big mistake, sure, a drop, but you would have thought, as well as Chinese Taipei has played in this tournament, they would have been able to shake it off and overcome. And we're not going to say it's over yet, but it's not looking likely that we're going to be crowning a new world champion tonight. Let's see how this third inning goes. Even 3 or 4 here from Chinese Taipei, and you're alive. You're in the game. Things are moving in the right direction. Chen Wanji. Yeah, she'll get on, and maybe you get a little break and you run with it. What I am surprised to see, given the magnitude of this game, is that they're not going to the bench for some substitutions here. It looked like, I don't want to take anything away from the group they put together here for the second set, but the A squad was out there for the first set, and a big player, a big hitter in Chung Cha Lee, not in the lineup for this second set, and it looks like they could use him. He is warming up on the sidelines, which is not something you often see in Baseball 5. He's warming up like a left-handed relief pitcher. But I wonder if we'll get him pinch hitting or maybe taking the field when we get to the bottom of the third, because Chinese Taipei, they just need to do something dramatic here to make this comeback. But they do have the first 2 aboard, and now a ball hit on the right side, out at first.
Yeah, and for Cuba at this point of the game, you don't want to get too cute, right? You want to do the little things, get outs. Of course, in this situation with a couple of runners in scoring position, if you got an opportunity to get an out at first, just avoid the throw to home. I mean, don't open the gate once you're in control, right? For a possible comeback here for Chinese Taipei.
Realize you can give up 1, you can give up 2. You're still firmly in command of this game. Completely agree with that. And I think the way they're playing tonight, we're not going to see them try to do too much. Safe over at first, run scores, so that's a big moment for Chinese Taipei. It had been 10 unanswered for Cuba. Chinese Taipei scored in both top of the first innings. And if you've been watching all week, you know if you score in the top of the first inning, you win more often than not.
It's a very, very, very tight ball game for many of these teams throughout the tournament. Oh, what a great play there. That was third drive, yes.
And now they're thinking about throwing to third. Tagging up and scoring there was Chen. Yes, you can tag and score. Chen waited until the throw went to third to take home. And that's great base running.
Boy, that was a learning moment for many of the viewers around the world, of course. And a good job also by Cuba trying to maybe on the so-called appeal, throw it at third base, tape on the bag, and maybe check with the official if they could get an out there if the player left the bag early.
The rare Baseball 5 sacrifice fly as a one-hopper to third gets sent across the diamond, and Chinese Taipei gets 2, but going into the bottom of the third, it's still a big comfy lead for Cuba at 10-3. I think that's the third sacrifice fly that I've seen this week.
I don't think I've been in any game where that happens, but that's something, like you said, that it is part of the game of Baseball 5, and something that we've seen also from this very disciplined Chinese Taipei team also on the basis is that if they have a chance to get to home, they wait to see how the play develops. What I'm getting at is they don't just take off for home plate and maybe risk a throw there and put that run in jeopardy. They actually wait to see if the fielder with the ball throws to another base, then they sprint home. And with their speed, I mean, they are probably going to beat anyone to the plate unless someone is already there and there's a throw in place. But they are very disciplined in that situation, as we see the crowd and plenty of Cuban supporters also here.
Yeah, they have one section specifically right behind first base, flying a couple Cuban flags, I guess hanging a couple Cuban flags. I don't see a pole anywhere, but I do see a leadoff hit from Amanda Diaz. I think this is the biggest crowd of the entire weekend. It goes deep beyond the tent. This is a permanent tent. This wasn't here for the tournament. This is a basketball court most of the time at Parque La Loma. I just think it's been a spectacular venue for this event. You get the mix of the fresh air, the outdoor feel, the expanded viewing area beyond the tent, but also we get cover from rain. Some hard rain blew in just towards the end of the bronze medal game. And if you're playing uncovered, which we were at El Zocalo and we were last year in Hong Kong, China, that can delay things. As Cuba is going to have a bases loaded, no out setup again. Finding holes.
Boy, that's a tough break for Chinese Taipei because, you know, they're doing the right things. The flip to first, that was on point. No bobbles or anything, but just those Cuban players are very, very quick.
You heard the smack there. The microphones picked it up. And maybe the hard hit nature of that ball was just too much for Chen to handle. It has to be devastating for Chinese Taipei, right? You get those 2 runs back and you think we have a pulse, we're still in it, and then immediately Cuba gets one back without any outs on the board yet.
And if Cuba scores 2 more, they will be 3 outs away from the gold medal because of that run difference rule heading into the 4th.
Chinese Taipei's already used the timeout, so the players are going to have to make it happen on their own. The Cuba fans sense it. They're making a whole lot of noise. Now it's hit on the right side. That'll score a run. Be out at first.
And that's the right thing to do. I know you want to get more outs and avoid runs, but you get the sure out, try and cut the bleeding, and then throw home to avoid maybe over there at third base that Rivera heads home.
Just looking at the personnel that Chinese Taipei has out right now, they brought in Wang Qing and Sung-Mi Chia. They've taken out Chen Xuan Chen, who a lot of people thought would be named MVP of this tournament. Out at home plate, great tag there by Wang. He's one of the new subs.
Well, that's one of the reasons he's here, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Right after the ball was hit, actually before, everyone sprinted through home to try and be there for a possible throw, and they get that out because that would help them extend the game if it presented itself that it's only a 9-run lead for Cuba heading into the 4th. Of course, Chinese Taipei will have to do their part.
You can get an out at first, you can get a force out at second here, but you've got to come up with it clean off the wall, and there it is, the 10-run lead for Cuba, which means that Chinese Taipei, like Tony has mentioned, will have to score in the 4th to send this game into the 5th, and that is, unless Cuba reclaims a 10-run lead in the bottom of the 4th, that's a way to walk off a winner in this World Championship, and just feels like a Cuban celebration is inevitable now. Hot shot up the middle and a missed opportunity to get out of the inning.
Well, that's kind of the way things have gone after Cuba took the lead in the middle of the first set. I mean, he's right there. He has his both hands on it. as Huang tries to get it, but then the bobble, another bobble, the ball squirts away. Everybody's safe, and yeah, it's a tough moment for Chinese Taipei.
Through the first 3 days of the tournament, that ball was caught every time by Chinese Taipei. If it was hit right at a fielder, it was caught. Didn't matter if it was hard or soft. Some diving catches were made. There, the ball short of the no-hit zone line. So ultimately, the drop up the middle does not add another run, but Cuba leads by 10 going into the fourth, 13-3. And you look over at the Cuban dugout, a lot of three fingers being held up. And that's another thing that Amanda Diaz was doing last night when it came to the third set against Mexico. They had a lead. It wasn't this big a lead going into the fifth. She went up to every teammate while they were batting after the inning and just held up three fingers. Said, we're 3 outs away from reaching the championship. Now they're 3 outs away from going home with gold medals and another Baseball 5 World Championship trophy. We'll see if Chinese Taipei can make them work for it. And that's a good start. And I like the spirit from Chinese Taipei. A lot of smiles. And not always what you see in sports when you're on the wrong end of a 13-3 score in a championship game. But that is exactly what Baseball 5 is meant to be. It's exactly what Baseball 5 is all about. And I think this Chinese Taipei team is showing everybody the good side of this game. It's not all about wins and losses, as there's an out at second that gets Cuba 2 outs away.
And it's about having fun, right?
Totally.
These are kids, man. These are kids trying to have fun and play the sport they love in front of a crowd. I mean, what else could you ask for? You're at the championship game with a large crowd in hand, supporting. I'm going to go out there and say they're supporting both teams. They're just enjoying the game here. And what a way to go out, of course, for Chinese Taipei in this one. And, of course, Cuba also.
Here's a pop-up to short. It's caught. And just a quick note on the fans. I've noticed a lot of faces who were here on day one, kind of curious, seeing Baseball 5 for the first time. And those same faces have come back day after day. They've brought friends. They brought their kids. They brought their parents. And we have a lot of new Baseball 5 fans here in Nayarit, and no doubt around the world, and you at home are a part of that. So thank you for being with us, as Chinese Taipei must score here in the top of the fourth, or it's party time for Cuba. The ball in play to third. Espinal to first, and Cuba again is Baseball 5 world champion. Four out of 4, Tony. They just keep winning.
Boy, what a way to dominate the sport at every level, of course. And if people thought that maybe it was time for a change at the top, Cuba said, not so fast. Another gold medal. They are the winners of every World Cup at the Baseball 5 sport that we have played at the WBSC. And, well, again, no reason to doubt them, as once again they are crowned world champions, and the expectation continues to grow for the following World Cup. Of course, we invite you to follow the WBSC so you know exactly the date for the next World Cup and the Youth Baseball World Cup. But you see right there the Cubans supporting their team, and boy, what a night.
13-3 the final score in the second set after Cuba came from behind 1-1 in the first set. This had it all this night of Baseball 5. The gold medals to Cuba, the silver medals to Chinese Taipei. Venezuela taking home the bronze. Chinese Taipei, you even saw some of their players jumping around, smiling as Cuba was celebrating. Some teams, when they've lost, we've seen tears. But for Chinese Taipei, they feel like they won the silver medal. It's going to be their highest finish ever in a Baseball 5 World Cup.
And of course, that means that the sport and the team and the way they've developed, well, it's growing, and we saw it for strategy, for technique, for discipline on the bases. That's something that we should keep an eye on. I'm not going to say that obviously nobody wants Cuba to be dethroned, but everyone else seems to be taking notes about how Cuba is doing it. And look at the celebration. The party has started here in Tepic, Nayarit.
Yeah, and we do invite you to stay with us for the post-game ceremony, the closing ceremony of this second edition of the Youth Baseball 5 World Cup. There will be the presentation of the medals, the presentation of the championship trophy. We'll award the MVP. There's a men's MVP or a boys MVP and a girls MVP, best defensive player, and awards of that nature. Tony and I are going to let you enjoy that one yourselves. I think we've said all we need to say, but again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. And Tony, your final thoughts on your first Baseball 5 experience.
It's fun, and if you were not a fan before you saw this Youth Baseball 5 World Cup, I'm pretty sure you are now. So please follow the sport. It's great. It's only going to get better. And this Youth Baseball 5 World Cup in Nayarit will be definitely something that everyone will be talking about in many years to come. As you see now, the tears of joy there for this Cuban team, and the Cuban manager, Sergio Perez over there, is celebrating. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Cuba has been crowned world champion. And just to be a part of the broadcast, Craig, with you and with everyone here involved, the fans, the staff, production, say thanks to them. Of course, this is a special, special moment.
Yeah, this game is here to stay. Baseball 5 is growing, it is evolving, and like you said, it's here to stay. So thanks to our outstanding production crew, our team from the WBSC, the local organizers, my partner Tony Alvarez, and all of you at home for watching. Craig Durham saying so long, and congratulations to Cuba, still world champions.
Buenas noches, bienvenidos a la ceremonia de clausura de la segunda Copa Mundial de Béisbol 5 Juvenil de la Confederación Mundial de Béisbol y Softball Nayarit 2025. Ahora, damas y caballeros, les pedimos silencio para escuchar el glorioso himno de la Confederación Mundial de Béisbol y Softball. Antes de continuar la ceremonia, permítanme presentarles a nuestras autoridades invitadas presentes el día de hoy. Richard Baker, director de medios de la Confederación Mundial de Béisbol y Softball. Andrea de Auria, director de los oficiales de juego. Valerio Cianfoni, director de torneo. Rolando Guerrero Cruz, presidente de la Federación Mexicana de Softball. Carolina Lugo Robles, directora general del Instituto Nayarita de Cultura Física y Deporte. Marco Hiena, director de operaciones de la Confederación Internacional de Béisbol y Softball. Ayako Rokaku, representante de atletas de béisbol de la Confederación Mundial de Softball y Béisbol. Gracias de nuevo por estar aquí con nosotros. Ha llegado el momento de anunciar a los ganadores de los premios individuales. Los premios individuales son entregados por nuestras diferentes autoridades, a quienes las iremos nombrando. De más de 50 juegos a lo largo de 4 días en el torneo, los siguientes atletas han mostrado un desempeño sobresaliente durante sus juegos. Por favor, denle un gran aplauso al premio a Mejor Entrenador, Jesús Jorge Sandoval Rocha, de México. Este premio será entregado por Andrea de Auria, director de los oficiales de juego. Le pedimos a Audia que tome su lugar y al director, al coach, que nos ayude para tomarle una foto con su premio. El siguiente premio es entregado al mejor equipo del mundo, los mejores jugadores de este torneo. El premio será entregado por Richard Baker, director de medios, y Gerardo Sepúlveda, director operativo del torneo. Los jugadores son Chuan Chen Chen de Chinese Taipei, Alexander Manuel Gamboa Gómez de Venezuela, Axel Adrián González Lugo de México, Ivonne Cheryl Kaiga de Kenia, y Seyran Nisa Özdemir de Turquía. Fuerte el aplauso para el mejor equipo del torneo. Continuando con la premiación, toca el turno al MVP varonil de este torneo, el cual corresponde a Carlos Alejandro Rivera Tamayo de Cuba. El premio será entregado por Valerio Cianfoni, director del torneo. Continuando con la premiación, el premio al MVP femenil es para Rachel de la Caridad.
A todas y todos, es un gusto en nombre del señor gobernador, el doctor Miguel Ángel Navarro Quintero, darles las gracias a todas y todos porque hoy Nayarit cumple el objetivo de un evento más con éxito. Muchas gracias al comité organizador, muchas gracias a la Confederación Mundial, gracias a todos los equipos, a todas y todos los atletas por acompañarnos. Nayarit va a seguir levantando la mano para tener estos eventos, para seguir fomentando en materia deportiva en esta disciplina y en todas las que conforman a nuestro estado. Muchas gracias, enhorabuena y éxito para todas y todos.
Fuerte el aplauso para Carolina Lugo Robles, directora general del Instituto Nayarita de Cultura Física y Deporte. Agradecemos este mensaje que nos ha brindado. En este momento, invitamos ahora al director de operaciones de la Confederación Internacional de Béisbol y Softball, Marco Hiena, haga uso de la palabra. Y pido atención a todos, en una de las pantallas aparecerá en español para quien desee seguirnos por esta vía.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, over the past unforgettable days here in Tepic, Mexico, we have witnessed the true spirit of Baseball5. Young athletes from around the world have not only competed for the title of world champions, but they have also showcased friendship, unity, and limitless energy that defines incredible discipline, which is Baseball5. On behalf of the WBSC President, Mr. Riccardo Fraccari, I extend a heartfelt congratulations to all participant teams. Each one of you has brought pride of your countries, demonstrating passion, skill, and respect for the game. You have made this edition of the WBSC Youth Baseball5 World Cup truly memorable. To our new world champions, congratulations. You now stand on the top of the world, a symbol of excellence and inspiration for future generations. A very special recognition must go to our host city, Tepic, and the local organizing committee, who have endorsed and with their dedication and hard work have given us an unforgettable event. Thank you also to all the officials, staff and volunteers that helped make this tournament a great success. And finally, to the fans, your passion and your unwavering support have filled this arena with joy and energy. You remind us that Baseball5 is more than a game. It's a celebration of community and culture. It has been a great honor for the WBSC to host the 2025 edition of the Youth Baseball5 World Cup here in Tepic. And now, in Tepic, Mexico, I declare the WBSC Youth Baseball5 World Cup 2025 officially closed. Muchas gracias.
Fuerte el aplauso y agradecemos este mensaje que nos ha brindado. Ahora es el momento de presentar a los 3 mejores equipos nacionales de la segunda Copa Mundial de Béisbol 5 Juvenil de la Confederación Mundial de Béisbol y Softball Nayarit 2025. El equipo del tercer lugar es el equipo nacional de Venezuela. Primero, para los medallistas de bronce, presidente de la Federación Mexicana de Softball, Rolando Guerrero Cruz, estará entregando las medallas. Por favor, denle un gran aplauso a la Selección Nacional de Venezuela. Fuerte el aplauso. Por favor, démosle un gran aplauso a los campeones del mundo, Cuba. Se entonará el himno nacional de Cuba, medallista de oro, en honor a su victoria. Por favor, pongámonos de pie, descubrámonos la cabeza y con respeto miremos hacia su bandera nacional en el jardín. Gracias y felicitaciones nuevamente a Cuba, el equipo campeón del mundo. La ceremonia de clausura de la segunda Copa Mundial de Béisbol 5 Juvenil Nayarit 2025 ha finalizado. Nos gustaría agradecer a todos nuestros atletas, coaches, personal, anotadores, voluntarios y público por hacer de este torneo un éxito. Esperamos volvernos a ver muy pronto y que pasen una excelente noche. Muchas gracias.